What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of Disney Plus original series What If Season 2. This will focus on what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper. Okay, so I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, whatever you're celebrating right now. We're on to a new Season 2, Episode 5 of course, What If. This is a continuation of the first episode from the original first season series. It's an episode that deals with Black Widow. It also deals with, of course, Captain America Winter Soldier in a lot of aspects. But once again, because this is alternate reality stuff, we got basically Peggy Carter has now become in the present. Once again, voiced by Hayley Atwell. And she is trying to stop the Hydra Stomper. And she goes on a boat that's very similar to, of course, Captain America Winter Soldier at the beginning. And she finds out that, of course, Steve Rogers has lived. He lived through whatever happened in the first episode that I can't remember. And he has now become a controlled Hydra Stomper mechanical machine. I basically has weapons and jetpacks and all kinds of stuff that, of course, Tony Stark or Howard Stark invented. And as the episode goes along, it becomes more and more prevalent and more prescient that this is becoming more of a Black Widow story because, of course, we have Lake Bell voicing Natasha Romanoff. It's not, of course, Scarlett Johansson. And they have to discover where the Red Room is located, which we find out, of course, is in Russia, as it was in Black Widow. So this was a story that is interesting on a couple levels. It continues this really interesting kind of creative narrative that the What If series that Brian Andrews and AC Bradley are doing, where the Watcher is a character who gets some choice lines anyways. Jeffrey Wright does some nice stuff in this he's like, I don't like sequels, but I'm going to do a sequel anyways. And then at the very end, he's like, I don't know where the hell she went. It's pretty good stuff by Jeffrey Wright. And I think it's fun narrative that he's given. But in these stories, they're supposed to be self-contained or mostly self-contained. But what they do in, narrative storytelling or this kind of storytelling is sometimes the storytelling goes off the rails or goes off kill or off tilt or whatever. And that's what happens here. First, we have our traditional story. The Watcher's telling the story of Peggy Carter again, who's now Captain Carter. She's investigating Steve Rogers, the Hydra Stomper. We, of course, have Bucky Barnes, who's, of course, in the Robert Redford position, where he's the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. and so on and so forth. And Nick Fury is off doing whatever he's doing. We, of course, have, just all these characters in place. And when they go to the Red Room, they realize that Rachel Weisz's character, who was the mother type character who turned bad, and of course the Black Widow movie is, of course, controlling Steve Rogers and has forced them to go to this kind of 1950s style that looks very similar to like a Doom town, like a nuclear explosion town, where it's all these mannequins and all these like AI technology kind of robots and stuff like that. And we find out that, of course, the Rachel Weisz, who's actually voicing her character, I think it's Melina or something like that, she has tricked, of course, Natasha Romanoff and, of course, Captain Carter to coming to this town. And therefore, of course, as this episode entails, Captain Carter fights off Hydra Stomper, and Natasha Romanoff has to fight off the other widows as well as Melina. And for the most part, it's a pretty decent, fun story. It's very traditional by the book. It does what it does. It has, Steve Rogers saving the day, similar to like what Randy Quaid did in Independence Day, where he destroys that ship in the sky. We, of course, have Melina and, of course, Natasha fighting one another, and the widows and stuff like that. We, of course, see Frank Grillo as Brock Rumlow come back, and he does his thing. He's not in it for very long. But, once again, Steve Rogers saves the day, blows up the ship himself, whatever. And then the Watcher goes, that's the end of part 2 of her story. There'll be a part 3, as season 3 is what it's going to do. But the really fascinating thing that this episode does that kind of continues that, like going into a different trajectory, is it's a simple fact that Peggy Carter knows who the Watcher is, and Watcher's behind Natasha Romanoff. But as Peggy Carter is going to just kind of have a relaxing day, because she's always been on the guard and stuff like that, she gets sucked into this portal that very much looks like Wanda Maximoff's portal. And the Watcher's like, okay, I didn't see that coming. What the hell? The Watcher who watches infinite universes doesn't see that coming, which is actually kind of a beautiful thing. I actually really enjoyed that. Which leads to something that's very interesting, where Peggy Carter gets sucked into this world that very much looks like a old 1600s world. And if you look at the names of the episodes list, there is an episode called The Avengers in 1602. Now, this looks like a continuation story of her in that realm, where we see, of course, Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, and we see Wanda Maximoff, who's of course played by Ashley Olsen. But I find that really interesting because it amps up the idea of this story. It allows these characters to go in different directions. It allows the watcher to be not necessarily a reliable narrator, and just allows for the different tweaks that Brian Andrews and AC Bradley have done through this entire series, that just makes the status quo kind of upend itself. And I really found that really fun. I think it actually helps this episode go from like a 7.5, 8 to like an 8.5 and 9, just for that simple thing, because it'll create this kind of paradox that really creates kind of a problematic situation. So it'd be really interesting to see, you know, if they did a Loki thing where they added in the Loki situation, and it kind of messes up the whole What If series. But like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. Like I said, very traditional by the book What If episode. Adds in a little kind of fun little seasoning of like a future episode and what that's going to do. But that's going to be a couple episodes from now, close to the end of the series or season, I should say. But yeah, this is like an 8.5 out of 9, somewhere around there. Just a really good, fun episode. Just an entertaining, has some good moments, has some funny moments. I wish, Chris Evans would come back as Steve Rogers, but he's not paid enough, so he's not coming back. But yeah, it's everybody who voices the characters they voice and what they do, they do a nice job. So anyways, with that said, that is going to be my take on What If Captain Carter Fought the Hydra Stomper, the second part of a 3-part thing for Peggy Carter and Captain Carter. So anyways, that'll do it. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below what do you think of the episode. But otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to fun's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.